Pivot and the Wolf, Chapter 5. They were all night warriors, part of society, yet separate. They had their own culture, their own rules and morality that came to the front when the masks were on. Pivot was going to learn all of it. This game was better than Go. He did lose himself. Men and women moved around each other, arms waving, hips gyrating. A woman rubbed her hip against him. His hand moved to hold her hip. He didn't even see her face, but their bodies moved to the music, together, touching and being touched. Most of all, being touched. The two boys walked to the bus stop with their arms around each other's shoulders. I have decided, Pivot. Mask girls are too wild for me, Craftsman said, and let out a whoop. Mask girls are all I want. Imagine, I used to want to go slow, but now that I have felt that rush of immediate intimacy and closeness without all the ritual and step by step, screw the steps. I want to fall in love again and again and love 100 girls. That's the path to happiness. Pivot howled at the clouds, almost in reply. A downpour began. Pivot pulled his mask up and opened his mouth to catch the rain. They had chosen their new, post-Emmy paths in life. Their wounds still ached, and their hearts too, but they felt ready for the next chapter. So they thought, shh, let them have this. They're still young. Miles away, Sado Island was disturbed in the night by a howling wolf. None of the people knew what it meant, but it frightened many of them. The wolf howl broke into girlish sobbing and crying in the night. But only you and I and the Moon Princess heard that. Best let her have privacy. She has claws. Shin's mom was asleep on the couch with reruns of some old comedy on the TV. Craftsman turned off the TV and pulled a blanket from her closet over his mother. He kissed her goodnight and went to his room. He unmasked and put his uniform away, nice and tidy. The rest of his room was a mess, and he wondered how long they would be able to use that workshop. How far ahead had the rent been paid? Would Emmy cancel their lease? He found out that they only had until the end of the month, and he scrambled to find a new place to store their stuff. Storage was all they could achieve, and they had to sell a lot of their machinery. Ironically, a brand new sewing machine had been delivered to the workshop, waiting for Shin to find it. Shin was not too proud to take it home. And they were left with just the electronic and computer equipment that they hadn't sold yet. The manufacturing equipment was all too big for them to take. Luckily, their fixer person San helped them empty the workshop and even got them a fair price. He told them, "Girls come and go, boys. Life will always go on. There will always be other girls." He gave them their cut of the sale and clapped them on the shoulders. "Stay out of the newspapers." And then he drove off. "The dick didn't even offer us a ride," Hiro complained. "I've decided I hate Person-san," Shin agreed. They paid off Shin's apartment rent for the next couple of months, and the utilities too, with that money. It seemed the responsible thing to do. They were real men now. They lifted their shoulders, and they took care of their obligations. Jobs came and went, some for Person-san, some found on the job board at Ghost Alley, some they found on their own. They were lucky. And Trompos got vengeance by making loose masonry fall on pivot. He had enough warning to lighten the biggest chunk of it, but the momentum and the gravity were enough to knock him out and leave him bleeding on the sidewalk. And Tropos had the decency to call an ambulance. Craftsman hit his fleeing enemy with a tear gas paintball, and then he disappeared into the night. Too many questions had he stayed for the ambulance. The medics had to unmask Pivot to treat him, and to shave his head to suture his scalp, but he would recover. Hiroi discharged himself and went home. His father was worried by his injury. Hey, take 2 days off, Hiro. Swimming can't be good for a head injury. Okay, Dad. I'll be more careful too. I'm still trying to get over Emmy, Hiro explained. I understand, son. The first love hurts the worst. But you will get stronger, Goro assured his son. Thanks, Dad. Hiro left him and went straight to bed. On Sado Island, that very night, Wolfgal was on patrol. She'd gotten settled in her new apartment on Sado and wanted to really learn what her neighborhood was like. She lived downwind of a processing plant of some sort, and the smell got horrendous at times. Wolfgal took to the rooftops, leaping and grappling to explore the high ground. She ziplined along a power line and skidded to a stop amid dust, grease, and less identifiable detritus. She watched the streets below, people doing a late night walk of shame to capsule hotels mostly. And then she spotted a mask. She howled and slid down a power cable housing to the sidewalk. She landed harder than she'd planned and ended up scraping her knees on the pavement. Shit, she exclaimed. The other mask, a man, came to help her. Hey there, newcomer. Are you all right? He asked. Yeah, just scraped knees, Wolfgal replied. I was going to ask you to spar, but now I look like a fool. It's all right. We can spar in a couple days. I'm Mr. Insomnia. That's a weird name. He shrugged. We don't get to pick our gifts, he said. I'm Wolfgal, she replied, brushing off her knees. Oh, just where your shin guards end. That's bad luck, Wolfgal. Yeah. Rain check, she said. He nodded, tipped his hat, and walked away. Hiro would look him up on the internet. He's so smart. I should look him up too, she whispered. And so she went to a soba shop. Wolfgal slurped her noodles, and she found Mr. Insomnia on her tablet. In the news, even. He was in trouble for holding the mayor's family hostage and refusing to let them sleep. The mayor had a baby. Wolfgal had let the scum get away. Criminal though she was, one didn't mess with babies. Wolfgal hired a taxi to the mayor's house. Amazingly, she was allowed in. She'd expected to be turned away with a promise for an appointment at best. But she met with the exhausted mayor who was holding his wailing infant, and Wolfgal's heart broke. Babies need sleep. Mayor, I want to help. Has Mr. Insomnia left contact information? She asked. Yes, he gave a calling card, the mayor replied. I don't know his demands, but call him. Tell him that you're willing to negotiate, but he needs to come in person to a secluded place. And the mayor allowed Wolfgal to hold the screaming infant while he made the phone call. The mayor's wife came in wearing a dress. She saw the masked woman holding her infant son and blinked dully. Hello, I'm Wolfgal. I'm here to help, she assured the older woman rocking the baby. He quieted down to just small sobs. and the mayor's wife started to cry. Just getting him to quiet down is a relief. You must be an angel, she said. Oh, I'm not, though. I'm actually a very bad person, Wolfgal protested. A woman who can calm a baby who hasn't slept for 2 days can't be all bad. You didn't give him away. You kept on holding him and trying to help him. Wolfgal smiled at that. Yeah, I guess you're right. She offered him back, but she was asked to keep holding him. It seems he likes you. And so she smiled at the little boy. Hello, baby boy. I'm Wolfgal. I'm your friend, she said softly. It seems he will agree to the terms, the mayor announced. He'll be at an old pier in an hour. I can give you a ride. Well, my driver can give us a ride. I don't think I should get behind the wheel, the mayor admitted, blinking his bloodshot eyes. Wolfgal nodded at him. I'll talk to Mr. Insomnia. She handed the baby back to his mother. He began to cry loudly again a few minutes later. Oh, I go crazy. I just want to stop the crying, the mayor's wife admitted. Hold on a little longer, ma'am. I'll make the man see reason, Wolfgal replied. The drive was not long, but the mayor unloaded all of his stress and worries to Wolfgal. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you this, he said. Maybe because I'm anonymous, you're more comfortable. You aren't telling me, you're telling Wolfgal. You're talking to a mask, Wolfgal suggested. Maybe, he agreed. They waited on the pier. Wolfgal climbed out of the car and paced around. Kill him, reason with him, castrate him, negotiate, she whispered to herself. Had I taken my meds today? She suddenly asked, and she was distressed to find she wasn't sure. She couldn't remember at all. And then Mr. Insomnia dismounted a motorcycle and left his helmet inside a case on the side. Wolfgal, why are you here? He asked. Babies need sleep, Mr. Insomnia. Yes, it's urgent, isn't it? Is the mayor ready to pay? Please, you've made your point. Let them sleep. How about I give them one night if you sleep with me? He countered. Wolfgal considered it. I'm not a whore, she decided. She told him so. She reached into her belt pouch and slid on her steel claws. You want to live? She asked. He cursed and drew a baton. It's just money. Don't go crazy, he protested. But Wolfgal ran at him. He swung at her knees, but his swing was off balance and poorly aimed. Wolfgal spun out of the way and planted first her left, then her right hand claws into his neck. He gurgled and went limp. Wolfgal dragged him to the edge and kicked him into the ocean. Eat up, crab friends, she called out, and she rinsed her claws clean in the ocean, laying down on the pier. She dried them with the hem of her skirt, showing the mayor and his driver her panties in the process. Shin had told her about the protective coating to ensure her claws wouldn't rust, and by the time she sat down in the car again, she was crying. Um, please come to dinner in 2 days, Wolfgal. I can't publicly reward vigilantism, but you have our thanks, the mayor said, and then he noticed her tears. He was a very bad man, he added. Wolfgal nodded. I never killed a man before, and I miss someone, she confessed. The first blood to cover her claws had belonged to the men she loved. In a way, it was a blessing upon the blades, and in another way, it was a curse. She had checked to make sure they were alive, But she had to walk a new path now, doing good to balance the horrible evil she had done. The mayor asked his driver to take Wolfgal anywhere she wanted to go. She wished she could say Yokohama, but instead she said the name of her apartment complex. Once she got home, naked in the moonlight, Emmy sang to the Moon Princess as she had so often before. And after her song was done, Emmy said a prayer. Help me make things right. Help me be a good person so I can win my loves back. I'll never let another man touch me, I swear. Only Shin and Hiro may touch me. Emmy looked at the moon and she giggled. Well, I did say no man can touch me, so maybe? But but that's still cheating. Naughty Moon Princess. Anyway, help me redeem myself, okay? I love you. Good night. Emmy unrolled her futon on the floor and lay down, bathed in the moonlight. I'm so sorry, Shin. Hero, she cried. And she remembered again that rainy night. The wolf told her that she was a lone wolf, and those two weren't her mates, just fuckboys. The wolf told her to stab them and to take everything for herself. She'd made the plan already. She was going to prove that she was cold and unstoppable. She proved that all right, but now she just wanted to apologize and to make love. She desperately thought of sneaking into Hiroi's apartment and offering to be his love slave if only he would forgive her. The love slave fantasy went a little bit further, and she ended up crying and whispering her lover's names to the night as her hands helped her to feel better. She wished she had one of her men in her arms, his weight and his warmth against her skin. But no man would want her anyway, knowing what she had done. Her only love was the men she'd betrayed. The wolf had nothing to say. She knew that Emmy was mad at her. She'd only wanted Emmy to be free. Emmy bit her hand and then fell asleep. As time went by, Emmy often lurked around on Twitter, and she would cheer when Pivot beat Entropos and growled when Entropos got revenge on Pivot. She wanted so badly to cheer them on out loud and publicly, to apologize, but how could she? Hey, I stabbed you in the back, literally, and I'm sorry. Would a blowjob help? Hi, a voice in my head made me try to kill you, but I promise it won't happen again. Here's a cake. She continued to take her meds on time. She swore to never go off them again. And as she considered things, the wolf finally spoke up again. You've made that promise before, taking your meds and never going off them. She growled at the wolf to shut up. Emmy bought a nice dress and some new perfume, too. New life, new fragrance. And as she tried on the dress, she admired her reflection, swishing the skirt around, and she felt like a normal girl. She wore the new clothes to that dinner at the mayor's house. The mayor's wife looked like a different woman after having rested. Hi, I'm Wolfgal's friend, Emmy, she said as an introduction. Ah, I understand. Please come in, Emmy. And the mayor's wife led her to a dining room. Emmy was allowed to hold the baby once more. He looked up at her like they were old friends. Emmy smiled at him. Killing insomnia had been good, hadn't it? She decided that murder was still murder, but she decided she could live with it and found it to be acceptable. During that meal, the mayor's wife shyly asked to be allowed to paint a portrait of Wolfgal. I think that Wolfgal would like that, Emmy replied. I went to art school and I have so little time to paint anymore, the mayor's wife went on. I plan to go to art school too, Emmy said brightly. The baby began to fuss, and Emmy returned him to his mother's arms. And she felt bad. She felt a bond with that baby. It was as if he was a piece of her redemption and her better nature. As I said before, the mayor began, I can't publicly reward you, but we are in your debt. Well, I did the right thing, Emmy insisted. One doesn't do the right thing expecting to be rewarded, Emmy replied. I mean, Wolfgal did it. Right, he agreed. Wolfgal came to Sado to make right a terrible wrong she did, she explained. Why can't Wolfgal make amends at home? What she did was too terrible. I find that hard to believe. Please believe it. Wolfgal is mentally ill. She's not a good person. She's trying. She's trying to change her ways. Oh, we all have our regrets, Emmy-san, the mayor's wife said. As long as we're alive, we can be better. Emmy nodded. She wanted to believe it, but she was wretched. She had tried to be someone that she wasn't. As much as she hated herself, she couldn't accept that she was evil. She emailed a Wolfgal picture to the mayor's wife to use as a reference for the portrait, and she returned to her apartment. Her knees felt better in a few more days, and she could have sped up the healing by using some first aid spray, but she wanted to leave her wounds as an act of penance. Maybe it was time for her to have some more therapy. The wolf reminded her that if she told a doctor that she had committed the crimes, the doctor would have to tell the police. Prison was not acceptable. She was too sexy. Prison would eat her alive, or she'd end up killing more people for trying to rape her. Outing herself with her war teeth would put her in the super prison. They did bad things to the super prisoners, drugged into drooling mindlessness for their own safety. No, we won't be doing that. And so Emmy wrote reminders to take her meds on time, and she put them everywhere. Emmy got herself a part time job at an art supply store. She needed something to help her live. Her allowance from her trust fund was generous considering her sabbatical, but rent was not cheap even in a shitty part of town. She considered taking up prize fighting, but fighting for money wasn't really appealing. She would kill if she had to, but money wasn't that tight for her. And fighting other masks when she was not on a job felt wrong to her. Fighting mundanes wasn't even fair. So, part-timing it was. Sato didn't have as many masks as Yokohama, and the islanders were a tightly knit bunch. Wolfgal went on patrol often, looking for sparring partners. Sato masks were open to sparring with her, but she was an outsider, and they did not exactly welcome her. Still, she was able to find some jobs, and she did some clerking at the store, and she worked on herself. Through it all, she never stopped wanting Shin and Hiro. That, more than anything else, made her unstable. She stalked their mundane and mask profiles on every social media site they used. And she went crazy with jealousy when any woman commented on their posts. She had to remind herself that she'd done the leaving. Whenever she could, she would go swimming. It made her feel closer to Hiro, as if all the water in the world was one, and if they were in water at the same time, she could touch him. She continued to study and practice her English on occasions, and she hoped that Hero kept up with his English too. She read home repair books, and those made her feel closer to Shin. And she watched an absurd amount of pornography, trying to learn new techniques so that she would really be the best girlfriend. And she discovered an actress named Himura Reiko who had freckles and curly hair rather like her. But it was just a perm, and Emmy had bigger boobs, but still she became obsessed. Had her lovers found this actress as well, trying to fill the Emmy shaped hole in their lives? And how could she find out? And then what would she do anyway? Tell them not to watch those videos with her in them? And if they hadn't already seen them, well, then saying something like that would just make them look up Reiko's videos. Emmy shrugged it off, but she kept finding anything that actress did. And suddenly, it was late August. It was time for Emmy to apply at the local school for the new season. And the new adult video came out, and it was called Dragonfly Warrior vs. Spider Queen. It was advertised as a mask porno epic. Emmy and Hiro both immediately ordered copies online. Himura Reiko played one of the Spider Queen's daughters. Emmy filled out her online application for school while she was watching the movie on her video disc player, and she stopped the movie when Dragonfly Warrior subdued the character played by Reiko. His goggles and his slender athletic build and Reiko's freckled skin made Emmy think of herself and her hero. Her hero. Those men were all hers, and some strange inner fire burned inside of Emmy. Without so much as touching herself, she felt a drenching orgasm retching through her body from watching the cheesy porno. She almost dropped her tablet and reached for the remote control. She held on to it, and she skipped back to watch that scene again. Dragonfly Warrior fired a lame special effect near the Spider Woman, and then her armor collapsed to the floor. She pounced on Dragonfly Warrior, but as he wrestled her to her knees, and she begged him to take her, and he did. Emmy paused as it had shown Reiko's face in close up, right as Dragonfly Warrior mounted her. Emmy fell to her knees, staring at the screen. Reiko, remind Hiro-chan of his Emmy. Make him love me again, she begged. Reiko-san, fill Shin's mind with sweet memories of Emmy. Make him want me, please. As she came to her senses, she was feeling sticky and noticed that she was breathing heavily. She resumed the video and finished her school application at once, and then the final confrontation with Spider Queen was the hottest thing she'd ever seen. Spider Queen trapped Dragonfly Warrior in her web, tore off his armor, and put her venom into him with her mouth. A pink haze filtered the lights as her pheromones also overcame him, and Dragonfly Warrior became Spider Queen's love slave. And then her daughters returned to each have their way with him in what was called a reverse gangbang. The last scene was Dragonfly Warrior kneeling with a slave collar around his neck, professing his love for Spider Queen, while Spider Queen and her daughters caressed their padded bellies suggestively. Dragonfly Warrior got all of them pregnant. Wow, Emmy said. Well, this is my new favorite. I have to tell Hero. Oh, wait, I can't. Emmy turned off the video player. I should wash up too. So sticky. Emmy took a shower, and she sat down on the laundry machine. She had learned that she had to guard her underwear. If the thief had only asked, she would not have minded sharing, even if they were a pervert, but just taking was not acceptable. She considered making a sign that read, "Stealing underwear is very rude," but she did not think it would accomplish anything. The kind of person who goes to laundry machines and steals underwear out of them is the kind of person who is not persuaded by signs and is definitely aware that what they are doing is wrong. So she sat and waited and guarded her laundry. She had had to wash her furry wolf gal panties by hand. Just didn't work right in the machine. In fact, she worried that they would be destroyed somehow. And the vibrations the machine made while she sat on it also made her feel kind of hot. And then when the machine shifted over to the dryer cycle, it got warmer and warmer, and it shook more. And the next thing she knew, she was gasping for breath and holding onto the wall for support. Did other women know about that? Whew! She kind of wanted some wine now. And Emmy wondered when people would start asking questions about a 16-year-old girl living alone, but nobody did, even after school started. She had had to buy new sweater vests, but her other uniforms were acceptable at this school otherwise. Emmy really threw herself into her studies. It kept her mind off of her men. With her laundry, job, and school, she felt pretty normal. And then Miyazaki sensei began paying a little too much attention to her. Her art teacher was a young woman, long hair, slender, and okay, Emmy thought she was pretty. But, and this was important, she'd told the Moon Princess that a girlfriend counted as cheating. Emmy was working on sketching a plaster bust after school, and Miyazaki sensei was sipping tea and watching her. She walked to stand behind Emmy and watch her draw there at her desk. I noticed that you ignore all the boys, Inukawa, even Tanabe, and most of the girls like him, her sensei said. I'm not interested in them, Emmy replied, still drawing. That's what I thought. I'm not interested in boys either. That's good, Emmy began, and was about to add, because teachers shouldn't mess with students. But then her art teacher was groping her. Emmy froze. Punch? Bite? See how far she wanted to take it? Let her down gently? She was struggling to decide. I haven't had a girlfriend in a long time, Miyazaki sensei whispered, squeezing and caressing her. It felt pretty good. That was the biggest problem. Are you a virgin, Emmy-chan? Emmy caught her breath. Sensei, please don't touch me ever again. I have two men in Yokohama and I am loyal to them, she whispered. You led me on. I saw how you looked at me, the teacher demanded. Sensei, please don't make a scene. Prove you have these two boyfriends. I don't believe you. Blushing furiously, Emmy pulled her phone out of her satchel and scrolled through her photos. Her and Shin sitting on tree branches, Her and Hiro at the pool, Hiro's penis inside her close up, Shin flushed and half asleep after they had made love, Hiro smiling up at her, naked and ready. You dirty slut, her teacher said. I am not a slut. I am loyal to my men. I will not allow you to shame me. You're the dirty one, groping students. Get a girlfriend your own age, Emmy growled, and she pushed her back. I will not forgive you if you keep up this kind of stuff, Sensei. I love Hiro and Shin, and they love me. Her phone automatically scrolled to a photo of Wolfgal and Pivot making love. You're one of those, Miyazaki sensei gasped. Yeah, I killed Mr. Insomnia to save the mayor's family, Emmy admitted, and then she closed her photos. Please, keep my secret, Emmy asked. I will, but you have to do something for me. And so, Emmy betrayed her men again by cheating on them with her art teacher. She refused to let the woman see her cry, though. This was a secret that she would keep forever. No one would ever know. That night, Emmy kept her blinds closed and did not sing to the moon. She was too ashamed to let the moon see how dirty she was. But she had done it to protect herself and her men. Miyazaki could have outed all three of them, putting their lives in danger. Still, she knew she had not done a good thing, having sex behind their backs. And in her mind, it was okay to her if they had other girlfriends, but for her, there could be no one else but them. She hoped that Shoko, Miyazaki sensei, would get bored with her quickly. She couldn't help but call her by her first name. After all, they'd been naked together and more. In the darkness, once at home, Emmy allowed herself to cry. She turned on her music and played Descending Angel by the Misfits, and she imagined her fallen angels were holding her, telling her they still loved her, telling her she wasn't dirty, that she was still good enough. And then, the next day at school, Miyazaki sensei was all smiles, cheerful, kind to everyone. Emmy hated seeing her smile like that. How could she smile after what she had done? Did she somehow think that Emmy was her real girlfriend? And then Tanabe, of all people in her class, teased the teacher. He asked her if she had a new boyfriend. She winked and said, I'll never tell. But then she looked at Emmy, who hid her face, and Tanabe saw that too. The handsome boy frowned, but he said nothing. Later on in art class, Tanabe asked Emmy for some help with shading a drawing of a cup full of pencils he was working on. He offered her a peach flavored candy. Emmy took it and tried to smile at him. Tanabe leaned close, pointing to a secret note written in small print on his paper. Do you need help? It read. Emmy erased it, smearing the graphite around. Inukawa, I can help, maybe, he whispered. Please go, Tanabe. I promise this is beyond you. I can handle it myself, she replied. And then she pointed to the shadow of the drawing, and Tanabe thanked her and returned to his desk. Now she felt envy and loathing coming from the other girls because he had spoken to her and shared a candy with her. Tanabe, you don't know you've made things worse for me. Emmy tried to shrink. When art class was over, she really needed to pee, but she thought that some mean girls might try to do something to her if she went to a bathroom. She'd be fast, she decided, and just so she sprinted. She found an empty stall, and she was wiping when the door to her stall rattled. Here we go. She braced herself, hurrying to pull her panties back up, and climbed up to the top of the stall, and then perched there, looking down at three girls that she hadn't gotten to know yet. Hi, are you trying to lock me in the toilet? She asked. They looked up and let out small screams. Oh, you little shits have no idea how scary I can be. Unlucky for you, I have some anger I need to vent, and I hate bullies! And he pounced on them and beat them savagely. Not one of the idiots knew how to fight, but Emmy showed them no mercy. Bullying is wrong and harmful to society, she said over them as they lay holding their battered bodies. Emmy unlocked the bathroom door and pulled the mop handle out of the slots on her stall door. She considered dunking the bullies' heads in her toilet water, but that was too gross. So she flushed and washed her hands and left them, drying her hands on her sweater vest. When school was over, she waited in the art classroom. Her fire and fury had died down again. Miyazaki Shoko breezed in. Hello, beautiful Emmy. Hello, Shoko, Emmy said softly. I hope you can get over it quickly and start to like me. I really am a good girlfriend, she insisted. Emmy could never be the best girlfriend in the world now. It seemed appropriate that she was coerced into this thing. She treated it as if it were penance. I don't love you, Shoko, Emmy said. That will change, Emmy-chan. Women like us are special. We create beauty and love like fairies and angels. You will see. I will teach you so many things about the special love between women. I already know. I had a girlfriend once. She was kind, fragile, and sweet, and she actually cared about my feelings, not like you. That really hurts, Emmy, after what we've done, but I will forgive you. Let's go. I have a romantic date planned. Emmy followed her to her car, and Shoko drove to her apartment. Her apartment was filled with paintings and silk flowers and the scent of perfume. Shoko led her by her hand to her bedroom. All right, take off that silly uniform, and I'll loan you some nice clothes, Shoko urged, and she slid open her closet. Emmy stifled a sob. Getting right to it, I guess, she said. Oh, don't be that way. I'm not raping you. Go on, strip. Shoko held up a green dress. This might fit, but your bust might need some tape. It looked like a Tinkerbell costume for everything in the world. Emmy said as much, pulling off her sweater vest and her skirt. Oh, I adore your muscles, Emmy-chan. You're so sexy, Shoko said. Emmy blushed and apologized in her heart to her lovers. The dress did fit, but it showed off a lot of cleavage, and with Shoko around, she was not comfortable with that. Something had ruined her appreciation for her body and her ability to enjoy showing off and baring skin. Shoko splashed glitter over both of them and then put on her own costume, which Emmy thought looked like it had silk rose petals sewn over it. Shoko pulled her to a tall mirror. Look, Emmy, we're fairy princesses. Shoko did look pretty, and Emmy had to agree she did too. She smiled, thinking of how Shin would be so happy to see her like this. And oh, what fun games they could play with her playing the role of a fairy princess. Shoko saw her smile and said, I promise you will like this. And she had the biggest collection of cosmetics Emmy had ever seen. Shoko made her up eyeliner, mascara, everything, even some rouge. Now you look at yourself what I put my face on, Shoko said. Emmy didn't recognize herself, and she wondered how a teacher's salary could afford all of this. And then she tilted her head and she understood what glamour meant. And she didn't want to know what Shoko had in mind. So she decided that with her face looking so different under this makeup, with this costume on, it would become its own mask. The fairy princess smiled at her reflection. She would need a name, though. She would be Tart. Tarts were tasty and nice. My fairy name is Tart, she said. Oh, I like that. Okay, Tart, I'm Choco. Well, that's sort of original, but lame. Now that they were both fancy, Tart agreed that Choco looked beautiful. Sorry, I don't have any shoes to loan you, but at least you keep your school shoes polished up nice. Now we'll just need to tape your boobies so they don't go popping up to say hi while we're out and about, Choco said, grabbing some double sided tape. Now, Choco, I don't care. Anybody who wants to see them can. They're beautiful and I can share, Tart said. But nobody can touch them but my love. Choco sighed and she cupped Tart's breasts. I love to hear you talk like that. Since Tart was Choco's girlfriend, well, it was okay. Emmy only loved Shin and Hero, and Wolfgal only loved Shin and Hero. But Tart was different. Tart was a completely different mask. And the mask she wore was not her true self. Choco drove Tart to a family restaurant where they ate and had a pleasant conversation about the food, the decor, and a little fairy gossip. Tart told a story about a handsome otter and his best friends, a wolf and a clever hedgehog. The wolf bitch was in love with the hedgehog and the otter, but she didn't have the courage to tell them until a big mean dog challenged her. And then she beat the dog, but she was a little hurt after the fight. Still, she found her courage and confessed her love, and they lived happily ever after, living in a den near a lemon tree. Choco smiled. I have a better story, Tart. And Tart listened. There once was a fox, and she was lonely. One day this vixen met a beautiful wolf bitch, and they made beautiful art together. They were very happy and fell in love, and the bitch forgot all about her silly hedgehog and otter, who probably loved each other more than the bitch anyway. And the vixen and the bitch lived together on an island, singing and dancing and painting, happy for the rest of their days. Tart grinned. I know what you're trying to do, and I don't like it. The otter and the hedgehog are like brothers, and they fight like brothers, and the wolf will always love them. Now, can we stop talking about them and focus on us? Or I can get mad and bite you. She wanted to show her war teeth so badly. but she did not. Choco blinked. Sure, Tart. I like talking about us. I thought you might. After eating, Choco drove her to a place outside of town. It was a fancy house with greenery everywhere. Tickets were very expensive, but don't you worry, Choco said. Words mean so little, and money less when you're lying next to me. We never argue, never calculate the currency we've spent. I love you. You pay my rent, Tart recited in English. What was that? Choco asked. Just a pretty piece of fluff from England, Tart replied, and she waved it off. Well, tonight we're going to Wonderland. I told you it was romantic. Choco was telling the truth. She handed a white rabbit 2 tickets at the door, and once inside, Tart saw Wonderland and the world through the looking glass, too. The Red Queen, the White Queen, Alice's everywhere. Mock turtles, March hares, Mad Hatters, a dodo, even a carpenter or two. If you'll believe in me, then I'll believe in you, the unicorn said. Tart recited, this time in Japanese. That's right, Choco agreed and led her around. Tart had a wonderful time, and after the party, she willingly and happily kissed Choco, and they even made love. But then Choco insisted on taking a shower and washing away all the glitter and all the makeup. She was completely unaware that with the mask gone, she would be left with Emmy, who did not love Shoko or Choco at all. Tart tried to explain, but in the shower and with the special soap, Tart was very quickly gone. Shoko wanted to kiss and touch in the shower, and Emmy allowed her to do that, but she did not want to do any more than that. No sweet talk, no real sex stuff. And Shoko didn't notice the change come over the girl. It's okay. You can touch me too. I want you to, Shoko said, standing up straight. Isn't my body nice? Emmy nodded. Well, what's wrong? Why don't you want to touch me any more? I want to go home, please, Emmy said. Shoko turned off the water. Talk to me, darling. What's wrong? Tart is your girlfriend, not Emmy. You washed her mask away, and now you're stuck with me. Shoko blinked away sudden tears. All of that was just pretend? You were playing? Shoko, what did you think? I all of a sudden became a lesbian in love with a woman who was extorting me? Totsuzen girlfriend? Emmy, darling, we had a great time, Shoko insisted. You and Fairy Princess Tart had a good time. I'm a mask. This is what we do. You don't want to meet Wolfgal. She has fangs, Emmy explained. Now get your hand off of my boob and put your clothes on. Shoko dropped her hand, and Emmy pushed past her to open the plastic shower door and found a towel. Emmy, doesn't your true heart like me at all? Shoko asked in a small voice. Shoko, you're pretty, and I do like girls almost as much as boys, but you coerced me. I'm not your girlfriend, I'm your hostage. Me and my boyfriends, we have enemies. If you out us, our lives are in danger. Emmy started to towel her hair. I thought you just played dress up and it was a sex thing and we're embarrassed by that, Shoko said. Oh no, we're the real thing. Do you understand? I'm sorry, I thought you were in the closet and just needed an excuse. I thought I was helping you be free and gay. Freedom is terrible, Shoko. I live all alone in an island where no one loves me. I'm as free as can be, and I hate it. I love you, Emmy-chan. No, you don't. You love how tart makes you feel, and you find my body desirable. Emmy, can we make this work? Not the way you want. My true heart will never be yours. Learn to love Tart and put up with the mask, or set Emmy free. Emmy dropped her towel and looked at her. Okay, Shoko said. Okay, what? Put your clothes on, Emmy. I'll set you free. They dressed in silence, but Shoko continued to glance at Emmy as if memorizing her. She drove Emmy to her apartment and promised to keep the secret. Later, after crying, Shoko began drawing what would become her favorite painting. It was Choco waving goodbye as Tart flew away, both of them smiling but sad, naked and beautiful and free. She later called the painting Setting Her Free. She did not tell Emmy about it or display it to anyone but her closest friends, only those who would understand. Shoko did eventually meet a very sweet woman named Haruko, and they were happy together. Shoko often would paint two foxes dancing, and sometimes there would be a beautiful wolf watching them. And she never told Haruko about what the wolf meant, simply saying only, the wolf is their friend. And as time went by and school continued to be school, a few boys would ask Emmy to date them, but she very sweetly refused. They walked away happy that Emmy only wanted to be their friend. Their 17th birthdays came and went. Wolfgal gave up on trying to be a do-gooder. She felt she just wasn't built for it. The best that she could be was a villain who thwarted other villains. And she decided she was okay with that. The really, truly evil needed to be stopped. Wolfgal knew the darkness well. She still watched her men from afar. She often cried and gave up on it one night when Hiro announced he had a girlfriend named Sayuri who was from an all-girls school in Yokohama. She couldn't bear to see another woman make her man happy. Wolfgal unfollowed Pivot and Shin. She thought they didn't love her anymore. She was wrong. As the time went by and the year rolled on, Neguzawa Shizuka became a complete, total drunk. She lost her job. She didn't care. Somehow her bills kept getting paid, and there was always beer in the fridge and food in the cupboards. She didn't wonder why or ask where Shin and Hiro went at night. Shin was a good boy who helped his mama clean up and never complained. The new school year's routines took over their lives. Shin sold more of those porn watches he had hacked, and he hacked the school computers to fix people's grades, and he gave up on judo after achieving his brown belt. Hiro continued to train until he got his black belt, of course, and Shin was proud of his brother. Now that it was their third year, they became upperclassmen senpais. Shin's kohai was a freshman girl named Chiharu. She was thin, had short hair, and a nice pale complexion that reminded him of Hiro's mom. She thought that he was super cool, and it wasn't long before they were dating. Hiro always made excuses when Chiharu wanted to go on a double date with him and Sayuri. It was because Sayuri was Tengu woman, and Hiro and Shin had made a pact to keep their mask lives separate from their mundane lives. Tengu woman was a bit obsessive, sneaking into his bedroom all hours of the night and constantly sending him selfies and pictures of her apartment. One night she attempted to astral project and have sex from him from far away in her bedroom. It didn't work, but he pretended for her sake. Oh, Sayuri, your tongue, he whispered. Yeah, baby, I'm licking your ear how you like, Sayuri whispered. What he liked was to be bitten, but Sayu-chan didn't do that kind of stuff. Only Emmy knew how to bite without hurting too much. But sometimes Sayu-chan's talons would pop out, and he loved feeling them touch and scrape his skin. One night, Tengu woman went too far. She hid under his bed until he fell asleep, and then she crept up, just like in his nightmare the previous year, and she pulled down his pants with a hard yank. He snapped awake, saw her black crow mask, and slapped her away. She accidentally bit his penis, and her teeth left red furrows in his tender skin when she fell. Ow, hero, you hit me, Tengu woman complained. Give me a kiss and I'll forgive you. Hero was covering his penis. You bit my dick, he hissed. I'm sorry, but you did hit me. You can't do this catching me asleep stuff. You need to leave, Hero insisted. Don't you want to make love? She asked. Look, Tengu woman, this is not going to be a good time. Well, you look. I shaved a heart over my pubic hair for you. And she stood and lifted up her skirt. See? I love you so much, Hiro-chan. We should make up. Let's have make-up sex. And she began to walk over to his bed, holding her feathery skirt up still. But Hiro wanted none of it. No, you cannot sneak in and hide in my home. That's crazy. She dropped her skirt back down. I am not crazy. I hate you. Tengu woman flew out of his window, and he could tell she was crying. Sayuri wouldn't talk to him after that, and Tengu woman avoided Pivot. Shin said, You dodged a bullet, bro. You don't need crazy in your life, remember? Shin said. Crazy is my life, Shin. You take care of your mom like she's the kid. Yeah, Shin agreed. Hey, want me to ask Chi-chan to set you up with one of her friends? No, I like boobs too much to go out with freshmen. Shin scoffed. Don't act like you're better than me. At least I'm a one woman at a time man. Hiro glared at him. You think you're better than me, you lolicon pervert asshole? And suddenly they were grappling there in the hall of the school. Hey, stop that! Chiharu shouted, running down the hall towards them. Somebody stop them! They separated. No fighting in front of Chi-chan, but you're in the doghouse, Hiro, Shin said. I'm not mad anymore, Hiro said, and he bowed his apology. He also apologized to Chiharu, and he asked her if he could have a hug. She gave him that hug, embarrassed to do it in front of classmates, but Hiro-chan was her friend. Shin bowed stiffly, and he led Chiharu away. We'll talk later, Hiro, he promised. Hiro watched them go. Chiharu looked back to see if he was really okay. Now, don't tell me that was over little Nishidake, said a classmate named Yoritomo. Piss off, Noritomo. Nishidake is a nicer girl than either of us deserve. Hey, speak for yourself. I have Hasagawa. I didn't mean you, idiot. Hiro walked away. Don't blame me for your cuckoo bird flying the coop, Yoritomo said. Hiro stopped. Walk away, he warned. Don't talk, just walk away. Yoritomo heard the danger in his voice, and he did walk away. Hiro found the bench and sat in the shade of the tree, the very same ones that he always went to. And Yoshimi found him. He was single, he was lonely, and Emmy was long gone. She left him there, and she wrote a note telling him she liked him and asked him to put his reply in the knothole in the tree by the archery club. She signed it with the letter Y. She almost choked as she slid the note into his locker. She hurried away, hoping no one saw. There were rumors running wild about Emmy. The most popular said that she moved to Tokyo to have an abortion and that she would come back to finish the school year soon. But Emmy did not come back to finish the year at their school. Shin and Hiro continued to pay the bills, but eventually Shin moved out and got his own apartment. It became their official clubhouse and secret base. Shin devoted much more space to his work there, and they managed to keep the secret from Chiharu and Yoshimi until Yoshimi discovered Pivot's Twitter account. She refused to date a criminal, so she left Hiro too. Chiharu eventually moved away to a suburb of Tokyo when her dad got a promotion. She never contacted them after the move. Pivot dated a mask named Foxfire. Her real name was Harumi, and she put a spell on Hiro's penis. He could never get another woman pregnant, she told him, and no other woman could give him an orgasm but her. In time, he discovered she was completely toxic and controlled his life. But by then, Hiro was broken. Foxfire developed a brilliant system for the three of them. They would rob companies with a lot of insurance, and they would wait for them to collect on their insurance and then sell their goods back to them at a discount. Everybody won. If the corp had their own masks, well, that was even better. It made it into a contest instead of a robbery. Harumi had allowed Hiro to leave her once, but he came back. The spell was sealed onto him with her own fluids, and he and Shin's only idea to break the enchantment was to try with Chiharu's virgin blood. But Chiharu was gone, and Hiro did not want to try and make another virgin fall in love, and in her way, Harumi did love him. Shin finally started doing the Enjo Kosai thing like he'd been talking about, and life once again reached a kind of stability. Harumi practically lived at Hiro's apartment, and she charmed his parents. Harumi was almost as busty as Emmy, and while toxic, at least she didn't have anything to stab him with. All he had to do was keep her happy. And in autumn, Harumi made a big plan. Okay, remember that Tong you sold the fake handbags with the drugs to? That job you did with Frogman? She asked Hiro. Yeah, Shin had a head cold, Hiro replied. Yeah, and Frogman gave a bunch of his money to the homeless, Shin added. Really? That was a waste, Harumi said. Frogman didn't think so. He cares about homeless people, Shin said. Anyway, the Tong wants someone to kill this Yakuza mask named Legion in Tokyo. We can totally take him and live fat until college. No, Hiro said. We aren't murderers. Hiro-chan, it's a Yakuza scumbag, not a human being, Harumi insisted. No, Shin agreed. We're not murderers. Shin, what if I do what Emmy used to do? I can let you fuck me, and then I'll burn the Yakuza to a crisp, and then Hiro gets his turn, and then we'll go see the sights in Tokyo, have lots more sex, and then come home and get paid. You don't even have to help kill him. Just cover me. Shin stared at her in disgust. You aren't fit to hold Emmy's fucking tampons, bitch. I'll never fuck you, you black magic yoni witch. Somehow, witch sounded more hateful, and Shin told her to get out of his apartment with that. Hey, didn't I introduce you to Setsuko from Peppermint Sisters? Harumi asked. Yeah, and then she fucked both of us and flew to Korea the very next day. I'll see you tomorrow. Harumi huffed at this and pulled Hiro behind her when she left. After closing his apartment door, Shin leaned against it and found himself crying. Kanon help him, he had been tempted. Another Emmy would have been great. Chiharu had offered to do it, Setsuko had offered to do it, but both of them had left. His paid girlfriend, Sazae, was safer. He knew that Harumi would have ended up enchanting him too, given the chance. Fuck that. Shin sat down at his bench and began to work more on his AI, Project Hanako. She would be safe too. Harumi continued to pull Hiro away and pulled him into a love hotel, and she paid for an hour's stay. She shut the door behind them and touched his groin. Hiro, you still love me, don't you? She asked. Yes, Haru-chan, I do. I'm as good as Emmy, right? You'd share me with Shin, right? That was a minefield. He thought, kissing her for time. I can't share Harumi with anybody, not even Shin, he said. She giggled happily. Okay, Hiro-chan, I'm all yours. I won't ever talk about Shin like that again. And she led him to the bed and pressed him down. Mama's going to do all the work. You just lay back and let me give you a good time. She knew that Hiro hated his mother. She kept it up, Mama this, Mommy that, watching his eyes. And then she put his glasses over her nose and she said, Mommy knows what her only boy wants. It was too much. Hiro growled and yanked her shirt and bra up to bare her breasts. That's it, Hiro baby. You know what to do. And they had angry sex, just as she had wanted. She had him for her very own puppet. Just like the day she had sealed her spell on him, he forgot to wear a condom. And how do you keep coming back to my life like this? He asked. It's simple. I own you. You are mine. And after I get pregnant, you'll have to marry me, and we'll be together forever. Damn it again. Yeah, you forgot a rubber. Harumi, we're 17. We can't have a kid, Hiro insisted. Hiro, if I want your baby, I'll have it. Your dick won't give one to anybody but me. He knows who he belongs to. Ha-ru-me. I dumped you already. Yep, and I'm back, baby. Harumi kissed him. Get dressed. I need to make a hair appointment. Gods, I hate you. Your hate makes me love you that much more, Hiro. Bye bye. He dressed and left the Love Hotel. I don't like who I am when I'm with her, Hiro thought, and then he laughed. Not fit to hold Amy's tampons. That had been good. He texted Shin. I'm sorry, bro. I can't fight her pussy magic. I know. Chi-chan was our only hope. At least we can keep our integrity, if not our self-respect, Shin replied. You don't have to go down with me. Fuck you! We're blood brothers. You protected me. I stick by you. Hiroi smiled at his phone. Their next job was at Daikuji Heavy Industry. Their public relations types had been bragging about their wage mask, a fellow named Golden Eagle. Pivot and Company saw that as a challenge. So I want Craftsman recording our battle. Use the wing drone too, Hiroi said. He took to Twitter and Pivot tweeted, "Be ready, Golden Eagle. Pivot is coming. Your speed means nothing if you're running from me." Golden Eagle replied, "Daikuji is safe with me on watch. I'm not just fast, I can see you from miles away." Hiroi laughed. "Got that? Speed and farsight. He still has no idea what I've got, but he tipped his hand. You'll have clear sailing, Harumi." She let out a cheer. "I'll come back you up after we get the loot packed. Thanks, babe. I'll flare him so bad he'll be seeing spots for a week." The three put their hands together, and Shin went over the logistics with Harumi, while Hiroi went to the pool to do his shift at work. "All right, Shin, I've got the hover dolly rented already, and the shipping pads. Did you get the drop scheduled?" "Drop? We're going by the formula. Daikuji has played the game before." "Yeah, but I want to make a deal with the Tong. They will help me get smuggled designer clothes." "Harumi, we aren't that kind of criminal. No Tongs, no Triads, no Yakuza. We stay independent for very serious reasons." "But Shin, I want a Fendi dress and Hero won't buy me one." "I won't either. Not for that price." "Fine. We'll do it the way we've always done it." "You created that method. It works well for us." "Okay, you're right," Shin nodded, but he didn't trust her. Harumi was impulsive and stubborn, like Emmy. She was also very creative and intelligent, like Emmy. But she wasn't kind like Emmy. No, Harumi was cruel. After writing a note, Harumi kissed him. Shin ordered her hands to push her away. Shin ordered his hands to push her away, but they did not comply. Harumi held his face, and she kissed him again. She was beautiful. "No," Shin said. "Don't do this." "Shin, don't you want a real girlfriend? Don't you want to share me with your brother?" "I know what you're doing. You get back and you shut up. You can't witch your way into my head." He stood up and he created the distance that he wanted. "Shin-chan," she said, pretending she was hurt. "What if I told you I was in love with you?" "You'd be a liar. I know better. You just want to beat Emmy, but you can't. She has a heart full of love. You just have poison. She almost killed you. You still have the scar. You'll always be marked by her betrayal. I'll at least warn you before I betray you, give you an honest chance." "No, this is where you leave," Shin said, and he pointed to the door. "I'll tell Hiro," he added. "He won't do anything. I control him." "You're wrong. He'll swing back and then he'll be immune to your magic. And even if not, we'll find a way to break your spell forever." "You can't use Yoni. You're anatomically unable," she retorted with a laugh. "The power of creation itself is right here." She reached between her legs. "You have no power to resist. If I really wanted you, I'd already have you." Shin flipped her off. "Get out." Harumi blew him a kiss and used the secret exit. That night, Shin drank heavily and he smoked like a chimney. He believed her threat. That witch had access to magic they couldn't begin to understand. Chiharu's blood might not have worked anyway. He very seriously contemplated killing Harumi to put an end to it. But in the end, Shin still wasn't a murderer. He knew it. And it was then that his security system triggered his phone's alerts. He looked at his phone in disbelief. Wolfgal had found him. She was howling at his secret entrance. He let her in, and suddenly he had an armful of furry, squealing love, and he was being covered in kisses. He was too drunk to handle this. Shin-chan, can you forgive me? I want to come home to you, she whispered. You're, he began, and then he pushed the button to close the secret door. I'm here, darling, she said. How did you find my apartment, my secret entrance? Shin, this is Wolfgal. I can find you anywhere the moon shines. But I kept it hidden. Boy, did you shower in beer? You reek, darling. Shut up. I'm a mess. I don't need you to tell me about it. You are, but I'm back if you'll have me. What, we go back to how it was, like it never ended? Shin scoffed, dropping her. Wolfgal began to cry. Well, we can't ignore what I did, but we can move forward. Shin leaned on his workbench. Why did you do it? He asked. I didn't have a good reason. I had a few bad ones. So tell me, Wolfie, help me understand. I felt tied down and I wanted to be free. I learned that I don't like that kind of freedom. That was an inappropriate way to earn freedom. I know. I'm very sorry. Hey, do you like Dragonfly Warrior? No, we will not change the subject. Are you using me to test the water? Yes. If you forgave me, then Hero will have to. He can't pretend that I'm just a memory if I'm right in front of him. Wolfie, we love you. We cried so much over you and how you hurt us. I brought strawberry wine, she added, and she pulled a bottle out of her tunic. Where was that? My bra strap. Oops, I just snapped it open, and now my boobs are going to be all over your face. Wolfgal held him close. I drank some of the wine already. Is that okay? She asked. There was a sweetness to her breath. Wolfgal, how can I trust you? He asked. But then she was pouring wine into his mouth and kissing him to taste it on his lips. No more thinking. Put me in your security system and then welcome me home right away. Shin did as he was told, programming her howl as an accepted password on the secret entrance. And then they drank the strawberry wine and they watched Dragonfly Warrior versus Spider Queen. They didn't watch the movie all the way through. Wolfgal was all over him, and he fell asleep listening to her heartbeat. In the morning, she was gone. She even took away any evidence that she'd actually been there, except for one photo on his phone of them kissing. Both of their cheeks were wet. Well, her chin underneath her mask was visibly wet, and again as before, no note. He tried her old phone number. It was still disconnected. He touched his scar. Damn it, Emmy. Why? He asked the empty space of his apartment. Why not just stay and face the music? He burped, and the sour sweet taste reminded him of her kissing the wine off of his lips. He couldn't tell Hero what had happened. It would destroy him. Unless he found her. He sent out his wing drone to look at her house. It was still empty. He piloted it next to her favorite park, where she would go and watch the ocean from tree branch views. No sign of her. He recalled the drone. She was gone again. Damn. Emmy threw up into the ocean on the ferry to Sado. It was not a smooth ride. She cursed her cowardice. She should have stayed and tried to make it work. She'd seen the photos of Harumi with her men on Shin's phone. Even behind her mask, she could tell she was beautiful, and she had good hair. They were better off without her. And so what if no one on Sado Island loved her? She could make them fear her. She shook her head. That was not who she was. It was time to grow up and just be genuine. Live alone? Okay. Make new friends. Tanabe seemed to like her at least, but her only love would always be true. No second love for her. She'd come home as a real woman, a true human being, and then her men would take her back, and they would get that persimmon tree that she'd always wanted. Or had it been cherry? Shit, she hadn't brought her pills with her on this trip. She checked through her purse. No medicine at all. She sobbed. A person on the ferry asked, "I'll be okay. Just don't let me take off my clothes. I've got a problem with that." He nodded at her and said nothing more. "Thank you," Emmy said. She did keep her clothes on, but she also kept climbing around on all sorts of things, howling and laughing with glee. She almost fell into the ocean, but she caught herself and climbed to safety. "Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes my performance. I love you. Good night," she said to the various people on the ferry. There was a doctor on board, and he gave her a sedative and set her in the captain's office. She slept the rest of the trip. Shin had a problem. He had accepted a partial payment for one porn watch, but now Hokuto didn't feel like he had to pay the rest. He didn't want to go get help from Hiro because it would just intimidate the guy. That did have uses, but Shin had a strong desire to maintain a fun and positive interaction with his clients. And as he pondered this, an idea came to him in homeroom. And then, in Principles of Technology, he approached Hokuto. "When will you be paying the rest of my fee?" he asked. "I'll get around to it," Hokuto scoffed. "There is a penalty involved, you understand. I did you a favor," Shin said. "Yeah, yeah, don't sweat me." Shin smiled. "I'll expect payment in full tomorrow, or the penalty will begin." And then he left to return to his desk. The next day, Shin brought his paintball gun to school. It was still loaded with tear gas rounds. Hokuto didn't pay. After school, Shin shot him in the back of the head. He coughed and waved his arms, staggering as the crowd fled the smoke. Shin put his gun away in his satchel, folding the buttstock. On Friday, Hokuto had his money. "It's been a pleasure doing business. Tell your friends where you got your fancy watch. It's a Nagasawa limited edition," Shin said with a smile. And he was studying the schematics and maps and programming the flight plans into his wing drone's memory. He wouldn't have time to manually control it when they started the job properly. And around that time, Sazae texted him. "Hi, Shin-chan, I'm almost at your place. What are we doing tonight? I'd like to go see the senior junior concert." He looked at his phone in surprise. Had he bought tickets to senior junior already? He looked around. Senior Junior at Takuro Park. A memo affixed to the ticket reminded him to pack the big blanket for them to sit on and the flannel blanket for them to cuddle under. Sazai had a thing for getting nasty in public. I bought the tickets. I bought them early, it seems, he responded. But then he had a thought. He'd been giving Project Hanako some limited autonomy in dry runs to test out the AI's capabilities as a virtual assistant. Had Project Hanako read through his text messages and bought the tickets for him and included the memo based on his journal entries? He searched through his transcriptions and he found no record. Hanako, search journal files for references to Senior Junior concert. I hear you, Shinichi. One entry found. Playback begins. And Shin's voice played back. Saze wants to go to the Senior Junior concert. I need to remember to order tickets. Shin said. Hanako, query. Did you order the tickets for me? Yes, Shinichi. I searched for the tickets and ordered two at the lowest price found, Hanako said from his speaker. Hanako, did I restore parameters after testing? You did not. Hanako command, refresh memory, input alerts for me to force confirmation before any purchases except for utility bill payments. Acknowledge. I hear you, Shinichi. Thank you for your help, Hanako. You're welcome, Shinichi. Hanako, activate hologram ME1. The hologram lit up, showing Emmy in her yukata with her hair tied in a ribbon. He studied it. It was just perfect. Hologram deactivate. The light faded. His phone chirped. I'm outside, honey, Sazai texted. He buzzed her in through the front door. Sazai had a round face that he found cute. She had a fondness for cherry red lipstick, lavender perfume, and the small breasts that he preferred. Bonus, she thought that his weird decorations were fun, or at least she pretended, which was good enough for him. He wanted to meet her with a kiss. Welcome, Sazai, said Hanako. That's my virtual assistant, Shin explained. It recognized me. How? She asked. It scanned you with cameras and a hologram projector. Also voice recognition, he answered, and gave Sazai a hug. I'm happy we're going to the concert. Do you like Senior? I like seeing you happy, but I'm not a fan. I prefer older music. Oh, that's right. You like Peppermint Sisters, Sazai said. No, I outgrew them. I met Setsuko in person and she played with my emotions. Oh, how sad. Are we taking a taxi to the concert? The taxi company said the driver is expected in 12 minutes, Hanako said. Thank you, Hanako. And Sazai clapped. I like Hanako. It's very helpful. You'll make lots of money from it. Shin grinned. Yeah, Hanako's great. Well, I want to drink before we go. What do you have around? Sazai asked. He rummaged in his fridge. I have cranberry juice, grape soda, super cola, Kirin lager, Sapporo beer, and he had to stop. There was an unopened bottle of strawberry wine. What's that last one? That's it, babe. It was just my cooking sake, he lied. I would like some cranberry juice. Balance out honey's sweet kisses, she said. And sometimes he actually thought she loved him. Things like that made his heart skip. Or was it seeing the wine? Emmy had had a bottle with her. Where had the other one come from? He poured for a cupful in one of his clear, skull shaped cups. Saze smiled at it. Spooky. and she sipped the cranberry juice with relish and then pursed her lips. Shin took the cue and gave her a kiss. So sweet, she said. I like you a lot, Shin-chan. I like you too, Sazae. You're my only girl. Well, then when can I hang out with Hiroi and his girlfriend? There's no reason we can't do couple stuff, and he already knows me from school. Well, Sazae, it's like this. Harumi is very emotional, and Hiroi gets embarrassed. He shouldn't be embarrassed. We've been, friends all year. Sazae had flirted with Hiroi when he first started dating Yoshimi. She wouldn't call that friendship, but whatever. I'll ask him sometime, Shin promised. Good. I am your real girlfriend, you know. Are you? Sazae sipped her juice. I'll be honest. It began as just stuff, but I really like you now. It's just that we started with this bracelet that I still adore, by the way, and I learned so much just talking to you. Shin could not put his terror into words. She wasn't supposed to have real feelings for him. If he fell in love with Sazae, she would leave him. It always happened that way. It's okay, Shin-chan. We have a good thing. I'm not heartless, Sazae said, and she held his hand. Shin sat beside her. Sazae, I did not expect you to have you to to get feelings. It's okay, Shinichi. I really like you. It's not a trick, she said. You like me, don't you? Yes, and that's what scares me. Once it gets real, I'll always get left behind. She set her juice down and hugged him. Not me, honey. We're good, okay? Not kinda good. Not I can get used to it. Not I can tolerate it. 100% good. You're my boyfriend and I'm happy. After she said that, the taxi arrived. I'll show you at the concert, she added. Remember the blankets, Shinichi, Hanako said. Shin hurried to roll them up while Sazae downed the rest of her juice. Her eye caught an open photo album. Wolfgal flashing her butt and looking back with a wink. She turned the page. Wolfgal kissing Shin. Emmy flashing the V for victory and kissing Hiroi. She flipped back. Emmy was Wolfgal. She closed the photo album. Shin carried the blankets. Are you ready, Sazae? He asked. She picked up her purse and nodded. Emmy must have left to do mask weirdo stuff. So, Shin, in the living room, I saw a photo album. Why do you have a picture of Emmy kissing Hiroi? That's not all I have, Shin said. We both dated her, and we shared her. It was wonderful. I'm your only girl, though, right? No sharing that Harumi? No, I don't want her anyway. Just you, babe. Now, when you say you shared Emmy, not at the same time, only one on one, but Emmy insisted on sharing pictures, and one time she talked to Hiroi on the phone while we made love. I don't know how he felt about it, but I was happy. Whoa. It's odd, I know. Did you ever think about sharing me? Sazae asked. Honestly, no. We tried with Chiharu, but then she left. We tried with Setsuko, but she left too. So we gave up on it and became monogamous. Both of you had sex with Setsuko from Peppermint Sisters? She asked. Same night. You're better in bed than she is, he assured her. Well, the obvious question is, am I better than Emmy? Yeah, he lied. She laughed happily. See, we're very compatible, honey. We certainly are, he agreed. He paid the driver and gave a generous tip. I don't want to find our conversation on the internet, he warned. Tojiro, he added, reading the driver's name tag. The driver nodded. No problem, player, Tojiro said with a smile. The concert was okay, but Senior Junior just was not Shin's flavor of music. Sazae sat on his lap, and she pulled the flannel blanket over them. She unzipped his pants, and nobody thought that her screams were out of place with all the other screaming fans. Shin hugged her close. She reached up from under the blanket to hold his hand. Shin, I like you more than Senior Junior. And she faced him and rested against his chest. She scooted forward so that he could put little Shin away, and then resumed her perch on his lap. Don't worry, Shin, I've been taking my pills. And that made him think of Emmy. Would he ever get over her? Not if she continued to pop in without warning. Sazae enjoyed the rest of the show, even getting up to dance to her favorite song. But she danced while looking at Shin, not the stage. Oh shit. He caught it. He had feelings for his Enjo Kosai girl. She pretended to pull herself towards him on an invisible rope, and then she wiggled her little finger at him. Our fingers are held by the red string, Shin. We're meant for each other, she said with a smile. I saw the love in your eyes when I danced. Shin had to smile. Yeah, you looked so happy and beautiful. It was one of those pure moments when something or someone is just so perfectly themselves. She held his hands and knelt on their blanket, and she looked into his eyes. He hadn't noticed it before, but Sazae's right eye had a small mole on the corner. Was that a beauty mark? They didn't say anything for a few minutes, and already Shin was mentally saying goodbye. He knew it was only a matter of time. A young man asked if his girlfriend could share their blanket. She looked pale and unsteady on her feet. Shin agreed and made room for her, and Sazai helped to set her down and cover her in the blanket. Hey, are you thirsty? I can get some water, Shin offered. Yes, please, she said. I feel dizzy. Shin nodded at Sazai and hurried off to the concessions. Shin returned quickly with a bottled water. He handed it to the young woman. She nodded thanks and drank. Got a little too excited, maybe? Shin asked. That might be it, she agreed. And later that night, back at Shin's apartment, Sazae looked flushed and complained that she felt feverish. She slumped on his sofa. Hey, Shin, can I stay the night? I feel so tired. Of course, Shin replied, and he helped her to his room and pulled his futon out of the closet. You'll sleep on the futon here, and I'll be on the couch in the living room, he said. No, you sleep on the bed with me, she said, and yawned. Shin helped her get comfortable, unhooking her bra and pulling off her stockings. Oh, Shin, you're horny again already? She asked. Shh. Just have a nap, darling, he said, and he pulled his comforter up over her. He put her bra safely on his bedside table and her stockings too. He grabbed a cold compress out of his freezer and wrapped it in a hand towel. He returned and placed the cool bundle on her forehead. She pursed her lips and Shin gave her a kiss. He began searching through his social media to see if there was a sickness spreading around. There was, and there was a mask taking credit for it, calling herself Pandemic. She looked Korean from what he could see of her face, and he texted Hiro, Pandemic is making people sick. Sazae caught it at a concert, I think. How's she doing, Hiro? He responded.
She's resting, but it took her fast. I think our friends need to find this pandemic woman. Agreed. Meet at your place in 10? Yeah. Shin looked in on Saze. She had fallen asleep. He masked up and wrote her a note. It read, I'll be back soon. I'm getting help. I have mask friends, so don't be scared of them. He began scouring the internet for any clues as to Pandemic's whereabouts. He found her IP address by hacking the Asahi Shimbun website, which was where she had posted her announcement. From there, he looked for other activity, a Twitter page for Pandemic, and one for a woman named Pak Junhei. I've got you, Pak Junhei, Craftsman said, and he was searching for her when Pivot and Foxfire came in through the secret entrance. Did you find anything? Foxfire demanded. Power word Pak Junhei, Craftsman replied, not looking away from his computer monitors. Somebody's an aspiring glamour blogger, Pivot observed. Yeah, wonder what her shampoo costs, Foxfire joked. I have an address from a dating service, Craftsman said. I have the truck. Let's go, Pivot said. Craftsman grabbed his head cam and strapped it on. Putting this on the web, he said. They hurried outside and drove carefully. Do we tell the cops? Pivot asked as he drove. No. Masks deserve masks. Only you get the cops involved in cases of extremity. Agreed, Craftsman said. Pivot made a mental note. Masks deserve masks. Craftsman coughed. Oh shit, I hope it's not getting me too. I shouldn't have kissed her, he said. Crafty, are you mission capable? Foxfire demanded. Love it when you get all spec ops, Craftsman teased. I'm good enough to get this bitch, he affirmed. And he looked at himself. All I've got is my taser and my stun baton, though. It had better be enough, Pivot said. Of course it's enough. We have me, Foxfire said. I'll burn her if she gives us trouble. Then she smiled. Pleasure to burn. They found the apartment building. They found a buzzer labeled Park J, and then another. Well, crap, Pivot said. The other one must get it all the time. We'll just play it cool, Foxfire said, and pressed the second one. Yeah, a woman's voice said over the speaker. Junhei? Asked Foxfire. No, she's a 2C, came the reply. Thank you. But no reply came. Foxfire pushed the first Park J button. Junhei? She asked. Yeah, come in. And they were buzzed in. Remember, we talk her down if we can, Pivot said. Right, I only burn her if she gives us trouble. No, Foxfire, we're in an apartment building. We don't make life hard for the mundanes just trying to survive here. Foxfire pouted but nodded. They walked softly to apartment 2C. Foxfire knocked. Junhei, I'm here, she said sweetly. A woman opened the door, and Foxfire covered her mouth, pushing her out of the way. Craftsman locked the door behind them and turned on his camera, leaning against the wall. Hello, Pak Junhei. Your friend Pandemic is sloppy and made a lot of enemies, Pivot said. End your attack. Okay, please don't hurt me, she said. Foxfire frowned. Are you sure you don't want to fight first? She asked. No, I can't fight at all. I just wanted attention. Craftsman groaned. How long until the afflicted recover? Pivot demanded. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just learned I had a gift at all. Only recently. But you did turn it off. Yes. Pivot was still angry. You could have died or gone to prison. You could have killed people, he said. I'm sorry. I just wanted to feel powerful and important. We can find you any time. Don't fuck around, Craftsman warned. And then he coughed again. He turned off his camera, and they left. Craftsman stopped coughing before long. Back at the apartment, Saze was taking a shower. Craftsman unmasked, and Shin walked into the bathroom. Hey, babe, feeling better? He asked. Yeah, that nap really did the trick, she said happily. Want to join me? I'll wash your back. No, my friends are over. Oh, cool. Can you bring me my bronze stockings? Sure, babe. Pandemic went on social media to apologize and announce her retirement. Shin brought Saze her underclothes. She dried off and kissed Shin before dressing. Thanks for taking care of me, Shin-chan, she said. Saze followed Shin to the living room and jumped. Saze, these are my friends. This is Pivot and this is Foxfire, he said. Pivot nodded and Foxfire smiled. We hear so much about you, Foxfire said with a smile. Are you longtime friends? Saze asked. Well, Pivot's known Shin for years. I'm still new. Oh, okay. Did Shin tell you about the concert? We saw Senior Junior. They didn't tell her about Pandemic. It was their policy to keep the mask life a secret as often as possible, following Hiroi's mom's example. It might even have been for the best. The Daikuji job came. Craftsman sent his wing drone on its preset flight pan, watching on his tablet. They found Golden Eagle and observed his patrol pattern. For all his bragging about his vision, he hadn't noticed the drone. There were uniformed security guards too, but they all looked like slackers. He scoffed, putting all their faith in a stinking wage mask. Craftsman told his team when to move out. Foxfire folded the hover dolly and carried it off. Pivot went strolling to meet Golden Eagle. This job was going to make their names. Masking wasn't for guys worried about mortgages and PTA meetings. Pivot waited in the shadows for Golden Eagle to pass. His uniform looked ridiculous. An over one shoulder half cloak, a big eagle on his chest, wrestling boots with laces, and not so much as a belt. This fool. Pivot sauntered out of the shadows. How y'all doing? He said in his best hillbilly accent. Golden Eagle actually jumped. He turned around quickly, a blur, really. Pivot, you should leave before you get hurt, Golden Eagle said. Pivot just weighed him down. He pressed down harder and harder with his gift. The wage mask staggered and then fell to his knees. Pivot shoved him onto his back with a buckled boot. Brag now, salary man. How's the Corp Gym treating you? Pivot taunted. Golden Eagle tried to pull himself off of the ground, but his weight was too much. Pivot cocked his head to the side. I sleeping gassed two guards. Rolling the loot now, Foxfire said to him. He heard through his earpiece. Then he said, You are a failure, Eagle. Already my team is taking our loot. Your flunky backups are a bunch of slackers. How long can you keep this up? Golden Eagle asked. Long enough, Pivot replied. I don't think so. I think you're getting tired. I think your concentration is slipping. You're too young. Your powers aren't completely under your control yet. Pivot laughed. Oh, you think that amateur head game crap will work? You're a bigger idiot than I thought. Listen, me, Foxfire, and Craftsman are professionals. We've been at this for a while now, and I have a drone watching our battle. Soon the internet will know all about your pitiful defeat. And then Pivot activated his throat microphone. Eagle is grounded. No trouble. I'll meet you at the rendezvous. He stepped over the wage mask. I'll leave a performance review with your crew, Chief, he said in passing. A few moments later, the weight on Golden Eagle vanished as Pivot got out of range. He sped around trying to find Pivot, but he couldn't find any sign of him. He slipped on a patch of grease and fell on his butt, though. All of it was caught on camera. The drone homed on the speeding pickup truck and landed in the truck bed. They drove to their storage shed, and Foxfire whooped and hugged her partners. She got out of the truck and launched herself into the air with twin jets of flame from her hands. Pivot lightened her as she fell and caught her. We rule this town, she declared. They stored the crates and watched the drone footage. Pivot gave the details of his encounter with Golden Eagle. They had a laugh at the wage mask's expense. Corporate life makes you soft. It has to, Pivot declared. And then they locked up shop and went to Ghost Alley to unwind. Pivot followed Foxfire straight to the dance floor. Craftsman was content to watch while he smoked. Frogman walked by and tipped his glass to Craftsman in a salute. Craftsman gave a two-finger salute in return. Frogman was all right. And then a woman in civilian clothes came up to him. Hey, how are you tonight? She asked. I'm good, thanks. I'm Craftsman. I'm Aya. Are you looking for a good time? Sorry, sweetheart, I've got a girlfriend. Yeah, I don't see her. I just bet she don't even know you're a mask, too. That's true. So, how about we get some drinks and hit the dance floor? Craftsman smiled and ordered two wine coolers. The next day, Hiroi and his dad were shopping for jewelry for his mother's birthday.